What are the creepiest urban legends from every state? This is part 3. From the Taunton State Hospital of Massachusetts to the Watcher of New Jersey. Let's talk about it. What's going down, Mouse Nation? Today is the third part of a 5-part series where we'll be discussing the creepiest urban legends from every US state. These are in alphabetical order, so when your state comes up, make sure you give it a big shout out. Let us know what your favorite local urban legend is from your hometown in the comments below. All of these are super creepy, so sit back, relax, turn out the lights, and let's get started. Massachusetts, Taunton State Hospital. Originally named Lunatic State Hospital and made in 1854, Taunton State Hospital operated as a home for mentally disturbed individuals. In the latter years of its time as a state hospital, many employees and patients would feel dark, uneasy feelings in the medical center's lower levels. According to local storytelling, evidence, and the medical records to back it up, it was found that many of the mentally ill patients were being experimented on by a small and nefarious group of doctors and nurses in the basement of Taunton. Many of these patients were never seen or heard from again. And though there may not have actually been a group of them, there was definitely at least one nurse at Taunton State Hospital who would be physically satisfied by taking the lives of her helpless patients. Her name, Jane Toppin, and she would go on to have at least 31 victims throughout her career as a nurse. This woman was so sadistic that she would even poison her own sister out of jealousy. And in the years after the hospital's closing, urban explorers are said to still feel a dark chill as they wander the halls. Michigan, Hell's Bridge. Hell's Bridge doesn't seem like much at first sight. A tiny railless walking bridge inside a Michigan forest near Algoma Township. Seemingly harmless, with not much to fear except for maybe falling within the shallow waters below. You'd be wrong though. There's a dark urban legend that's attached to this bridge, and it begins in the 1800s. Many children from a local township had gone missing. A man named Elias Frisk was asked to watch the rest of the children, as many townspeople went to search for those missing children. Frisk would then go on to tie all the children together, telling them that he was doing so that they wouldn't lose any more of them. He then dragged them into the woods, deeper and deeper, until the children began to smell something rotting, and soon the children would find out what horror the smell was coming from. As Frisk moved piles of leaves, body parts of the missing children began to emerge. This left the poor children screaming and crying for someone, anyone, to help them. Frisk would then tie them to a tree and mercilessly take each and every one of their lives. And when he was done, he threw their bodies into the Rogue River. The parents who had gone searching for their children would then go on to realize that something was extremely wrong when not only the children, but Frisk as well were missing from the village. And eventually they would find Frisk, bloody and hysterical, claiming that the devil had made him do it. To this day, on or around Hell's Bridge, it's said that you can still hear children laughing, giggling. People feel unseen entities tugging at their feet, trying to pull them into the icy waters below. Some even say that they can hear the devil, that same devil that possessed Frisk, laughing in the distance. His red eyes glowing, piercing through the darkness. Minnesota, the Wendigo. Now we've done an entire video on the Wendigo in the past, and we suggest that you check out that whole video, link in the description below. But the rundown is that it's an insatiable flesh-eating monster or Native American spirit consumed by greed or hunger. It doesn't just roam Minnesota, but hunts from the shores of Nova Scotia and across the Great Lakes region. The stories of the Wendigo first arrived from the tribes of the Algonquin. The first Wendigo is said to have eaten his brother while entrenched and fighting for survival during a massive snowstorm. And the creature is said to get larger and larger in size with every human that it consumes. Though forever he looks as if he's starving, searching the frozen wilderness for its next meal. Many sightings have been seen throughout Michigan, especially rural, tree-filled areas, including a bus driver who supposedly was the sole survivor of a Wendigo attack by escaping through a window of his vehicle. So be careful out during the winter months of Michigan, because you may just be his next meal. Mississippi, MERCRITIS, a disease that swept the southern US in the 1950s and was quickly and effectively covered up by the US government. A disease covered up so effectively that there are no hints of it in any news or information databases open to the public. But if you ask someone from small town Mississippi, then they would surely know someone who was affected by this disease. Said to have first been reported in Europe after a man was chased off by a group of women, where he attempted to escape their relentless pursuit by jumping within freezing waters. The women went right in after him. None survived. The cause was said to be MERCRITIS, and it was believed to have been caused by severe lead poisoning, mainly from paint and usually within men, which would usually cause organ failure and eventually death. Instead, those who survived would secrete an unknown pheromone through their livers, kidneys, and skin. This secretion, or pheromone if you will, would cause women to have a wide range of negative effects, from the emotionally unstable and irritable to suicidal or downright murderous. How did this get to Mississippi, you ask? Well, no one really knows, but a small town was destroyed after numerous women went on a murderous rampage. The US government would erase the entire town from existence, forcing even the medical community to follow suit. Missouri, Zombie Road. One of the creepiest, most haunted roads in the world. Located west of St. Louis in the city of Wildwood, Missouri. The actual name of the road was Lawler Ford Road, and it was made in the late 1860s. Even then, it was creepy, long, dark, and winding. Almost a century after it was constructed, it would be mostly abandoned and used by local teenagers to have a good time or freak each other out. And by the 1950s, it began to gain its nickname as Zombie Road. Now it's known as Al Foster Trail, and it's the site of one of the largest Native American burial grounds in the country. So they say. And many locals have different stories as to why it's called Zombie Road. From dead railroad workers who rise from the dead and lurk about at night, to those Native Americans buried in the area. There's even a man who supposedly escaped a mental institution and made his home within the woods, later going on to attack young lovers who were looking for a little alone time. Other stories include a woman who haunts the tracks nearby after being hit and killed by a train. Or was it the two teenage boys that were hit in the 1970s, with their remains being scattered along the tracks? Or one of the many children who fell into the river and were never found? The stories go on, including mafiosos helping people to sleep with the fishes, and even suicides. And of course, all these tragedies would bring those in who wanted to utilize the residual energy from all those who passed for nefarious reasons. Take a walk into the dark 2-mile stretch if you'd like. And if you're really lucky, you'll make it back out to tell the tale. Montana, the hitchhiker of Black Horse Lake. On a stretch of Highway 87 in Cascade County, Montana, there's a ghostly hitchhiker unlike any other I've ever heard of. A Native American with long black hair, wearing denim jeans and jacket. Those who've come across him have said that they've seen this apparition hitchhiking on the side of the road. Then moments later, he'll appear on your windshield. Once you get out to check on him, he'll be long gone, and you won't even have a scratch. And this same story has been reported many times throughout the years. Was he once a man living his life hitchhiking from town to town before his life was suddenly and tragically taken, having to relive his horrific death over and over again? You decide. Nebraska, Seven Sisters Road. This is one of the most terrifying tales, and it comes just south of Nebraska City. Labeled only as L Street, it's been known to be one of the most haunted areas in the state, if not within our country. Red-eyed creatures seen in the hills, deathly screams, sudden stalling of vehicles. Maybe your cell phone stops working as dark figures surround you through the night. Bell tolls from a distant cemetery. But why, you ask? Well, the Seven Sisters, of course. Some say that the sisters were murdered by their father, who accused their mother of cheating. Others say that a brother waited for his parents to leave the home and dragged each and every one of his sisters to a different tree, hanging them one by one. Either way, their high-pitched screams can still be heard throughout the night, where their untimely deaths occurred. Nevada, the Mermaid of Pyramid Lake. Strange pyramids within a crystal clear lake that's on a Paiute Indian reservation in Washoe County, Nevada. Other odd stone formations as well. But this isn't what makes Pyramid Lake so creepy. It's the legends that surround it. Namely one that's said to be the cause of all the precarious deaths and suffering that's happened in the area. The Mermaid of Pyramid Lake. You see, a local tribesman fell in love with this mermaid. Madly in love. But his tribe shunned her, believing their relationship to be unholy. After her exile, the mermaid went back to the lake, laying a curse on the waters and all around it, taking revenge on any man that sets foot within her waters. And these waters are known to suddenly become dangerous, causing local fishermen to go missing, boating and swimming accidents where bodies are never found. Battles between the local tribesmen and settlers would be the end of many lives. Many believed that she was impregnated by the tribesmen she once loved, giving birth to the water babies. Demonic creatures known to mimic the sound of crying babies, waiting for their next victim. New Hampshire, the Cursed Isles of Shoals. A tiny picturesque string of islands off New Hampshire's coast. An abandoned lighthouse. Buildings covered in poison ivy and bush. These are the Cursed Isles of Shoals. So why cursed? With a history like Captain Kidd, who murdered his fellow pirates, his crew, to protect his treasure, and Blackbeard leaving his 15th wife to die on one of the islands. Why wouldn't it be? And these are just two of the ghosts that roam the islands. That's not even mentioning the axe murders of 1873, where two women were murdered by Louis Wagner, a Prussian fisherman. To this day, many travel on the Isles, and even on the clearest of days, they report an icy feeling of isolation when they arrive. New Jersey, the Watcher. This was a tough decision. Do we go with the classic Jersey Devil, or something newer and modern with a little bit of evidence attached to it. Imagine you buy your dream home. A gorgeous home in an idyllic neighborhood. The day you arrive, you receive a letter with odd handwriting addressed to the new owner. It seems kind enough, simply saying, "Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood." And that would be fine, except for the fact that in the coming months, the Broaddus family, who bought this home in Westfield, New Jersey, would receive many more letters from this neighbor. And these letters would become increasingly threatening, claiming to be a part of a family who's been in charge of watching the home since the 1920s. Claiming that there is something within its walls, or that even the home itself is alive. The watcher would even threaten the new owner's children, even driving the new family to never move in. The police didn't have anything to follow up on, and even a private eye couldn't help. The watcher knew everything about them, their first names, their last name. He knew their every move and made them increasingly paranoid as time went on, causing the family to sell the home at a significant loss. Sounds like something out of a scary movie, but this really happened. And the story went on to take a life of its own. Kids telling stories and daring each other to walk past the home at night. And who knows if the new owners will get any letters from the watcher. Or if the next time you buy a home, there's a letter addressed to you. Thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode of The Creepiest with me, your host Morty Mouse. Are you brave enough to face any of these urban legends? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you later, or I'll see you on the other side.